Hello, why? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Rational Radicals. I know I'm a bit early because the reason I'm logging on so early is because I'm trying to work out some bugs. So first, if you tuned in, you're listening, can you tell me, can you guys hear me? Let me see if the thing is on the thing. Let me see if the thing, oh, there's the, oh, you can hear me. Great. I don't even know how you're hearing me, but I got a new camera. I got to work on lighting. I got a new camera. And the reason why is my son came over here and ganked me. He even took my camera. He took my mic. He just took a bunch of stuff to set up because there's a new show coming to African World Order YouTube called Cosmic Cowrie or Pop Culture Wars. I'm not sure what name is. But I've seen like the early shows, it's really good. But he came over here and his mother gave him the permission to take all my shit. And so I had to go out and get some new shit. Mic is kind of distorted. Shit. Hold on. But anyway, I have to work on that. I'm not sure why the mic will be distorted. But if it's passable, I do apologize. Seems like the lighting is kind of fluctuating too. But hey, I'm working out some kinks and stuff. That's why I came on a little early. So I do want to get into it. Some things I want to talk about before I'm here to talk about the things I want to talk about. First thing I want to say to all the Snoop Dogg supporters, everybody who felt that touched by Snoop Lapdog, that by his assertion that he's sick of seeing homosexuality in children's media and you need to stop putting gay shit in people's media. And it disgusted me. I have to say, look, I'm really going. Look, I got my rainbow tea topper. Let me not front. This belongs to my wife, but I'm just trying to really go hard. I got my little rainbow tea topper. So it's just all gay all day over here for today. Just today. But anyway, all I'm saying is Snoop Dogg comes out and apologizes. Now, I thought he was full of shit for broaching the topic. First of all, a man like Snoop Lapdoggy Dogg has no right and no justification, no platform to say anything about anything, especially in the arena of social commentary. Talking about what's good or bad for society or what's good or bad for children. I don't think he has the credibility, to make any, unless he went on some long, recovery, unless he engaged in some serious long-term abatement. It's like Trump coming out talking about his frustration with racism. Or Donald Trump coming out talking about his disappointment with the lack of protection of children. This shit is crazy. So I'm like, Snoop got more nerve than a toothache to be speaking on anything. I'm not going to go so far as to say fuck his grandkids, because I'm not like him. Snoop has music, his artistry, his presence has corrupted and negatively influenced at least 2 generations and counting. And for this man to come up and think he got anything to say about anything that anybody should listen to. But again, it's on us because he obviously does. But Snoop, to his discredit, came out and said, he apologized. He was caught off guard. He didn't mean anything. He didn't want to offend the LGBTQAI+, and some of his best friends are gays. Some of his best homies, his closest homies, are with the LGBTQ, or some of the homophobes call it the alphabet mafia. He works in Hollywood, and he just got and groveled. Snoop Dogg got, as they say in the street, he got butt naked. When somebody really just surrenders, Snoop Dogg got butt naked. Like, oops-a-daisy. Because Snoop Dogg made this comment, and all you sycophants, all you groupies, all you male groupies, all you hoes that Snoop Dogg said he don't love. Because I had a dude come up to me and say, man, you dissing Snoop. You dissing Snoop. Grown ass men. And how come whenever I see somebody hoeing, whenever I see somebody getting naked, somebody defending and caping for Snoop, it's always a dude. It's always dudes, middle-aged dudes my age, fathers and grandfathers with daughters defending Snoop. For as long as I've been dissing Snoop, I've been dissing Snoop and calling him whack since 1993. Since 1993, I've been hating on Snoop. And everybody that has ever stepped up to and I don't mean defending him for his music, because his rhymes are elementary, trite, shittiest raps. I can't even imagine a rapper that's more overrated than Snoop. More elementary than Snoop. But I ain't even saying people come out and say, hey, I think he's a good rapper. They're defending his image, his persona, his stances, his viewpoint, his ideology. Defending this man on a personal level. Like they knew him, like they was on the payroll. And so, just like usual, I come out and say, man, fuck Snoop. And people come out and like, how dare you? Diss my daddy, diss my hero. And I'm like, you a dude. Why are you so committed to Snoop? But I digress. Snoop came out and apologized. Snoop came out and got butt naked and grovel for the LGBTQ. And the first thing I thought about, I believe it was Angela Yee, but I could be wrong. They start to blend together. Said to him, Snoop, now that you're an older man, you're in your 50s, you got a daughter, you got grandkids, you've been around the world a number of times. Do you have any regrets for the things you've said, the positions you've talked, the imagery that you've portrayed? And Snoop was offended. Snoop got offended that someone would ask him whether or not he regrets the things he said about black women, pimping these hoes, don't love these hoes, the violence that he's promoted, the gang culture, the cult of personality he's built around gang violence that has slaughtered a generation of black men and incarcerated the other ones they didn't slaughter. And he said, I don't apologize for none of it. I ain't sorry for shit. I don't regret one thing I've done or said. Walking black women on dog leashes across red carpets, highlighting sex traffickers. Because what is a pimp? What is a pimp? It kind of blew my mind when sex trafficking was trending in the media and on social media. Everybody was writing articles and they were talking about the scourge and the pervasiveness of sex trafficking. And everybody's like, oh, sex traffickers, oh, it's so terrible. And all I can hear in my mind, all this PIMP. I'm sorry, there's a phone in here, which it shouldn't be. PIMP. And all these artists, you can't find a multi-platinum black artist, rapper, that didn't have a pimp song. But Snoop Doggy Dogg wasn't just happy with making pimp music. He went to the retirement home and dug up these retired, scuzzy-ass, dusty pimps, Don Magic Wand, and took them on tour all over the world, putting them in movies. Promoting gang culture, promoting pimp culture, promoting drug. And he was selling St. Ides malt liquor. And the motherfucker put cartoons all in his videos. Cartoon album covers directly appealing to children. Dude making Disney shows, coaching Little League football, and producing pornography all done in the same house, like little baby D. Cops don't know when to kick the door in. This motherfucker. And when he was asked about 40 years of making anti-African, anti-black, misogynoir propaganda, being the poster boy, being the mascot for all degenerate stereotypes for African people, African men specifically, he was asked, do you regret? He's like, I don't regret shit. I ain't sorry for none of it. And was pissed off that you would dare ask. Running afoul of black women, running afoul of any decent, conscious black person, I could give two fucks. You piss off the gays. You piss off the gays. Oh, didn't take him a week to apologize. He couldn't apologize for 40 years of anti-African propaganda, but couldn't hold his stance, his homophobic stance for 1 week. That boy, I'm telling you, sometimes I wish I was once a fan. I wish I had some Snoop merch. I wish I had a Snoop CD. I wish I had one of them ugly ass shoes he put out, them Crip shoes, blood shoes. I wish I had something with Snoop so I could dramatically take it out and smash it. I can't even join boycotts because by the time the community gets hip to most of these scumbags, I've been hip to them. I told you I'm a hater innovator. I be hating on motherfuckers decades before the rest of the community find out they scumbags. Within and without the conscious community. But I got one more thing to say about this. Because I started early, so I got a little time. One more thing to say. Snoop is not mad at the homosexuality in that cartoon. Now, I've watched that Lightyear cartoon twice. You know, I'm around little kids. And I'm not the biggest fan of little kids. They don't have the best hygiene. Their conversation abilities are always weak. They're not up on current events. They're not very cultured. I'm not the biggest fan of kids, my personal self. And children's media is whack as hell. It's whack. You know? And now that I have a new baby in the family, I got to hear Bluey and all this. Bluey is terrible. Terrible. What bad taste. How you got my genes and such poor taste? You know? So I'm not the biggest fan of kids. So believe you me, I'm not defending the children. But I sat through that Lightyear movie twice. Right? And the gay stuff is minimal. Like, by the time the main story starts, the lesbians are dead. They're gone. He's mad about dead lesbians. But let me tell you why Snoop doesn't like that movie. Because the first thing I went and did was I went and looked up all the gay characters in Disney cartoons. And there were over 30 of them. 30, not 30 characters, but 30 gay characters, gay themes, gay couples. And I found 27 after I stopped looking. Because there are homophobic, right-wing, Christian nationalist fascists who really dissect this shit. They find gayness where no gayness exists. Like, they think that Mulan was a homosexual story. Like, so I went and found all the legitimate instances of homosexuality or homosexuality, lesbianism, or gender non-conforming representations in Disney, modern Disney movies, cartoons for children. And I found 27 different cartoons that had various amounts of it. And I'm like, Snoop, what's unique about, because you can't tell me this is the first time Snoop then took one of his kids to see a Disney movie. You can't tell me Snoop hasn't seen one of those other, almost 30 other things. Why this particular movie did Snoop have a conniption? Why did this particular movie call Snoop to stand out and step up and say something? And I'll tell you why. It wasn't because of the lesbian. It was because it was a black woman. Snoop hates black women, including his daughter and his wife. That's the conclusion I must draw based on evidence. And let me tell you, I went and got this. I bought this long before the Snoop thing, though. But this is the supporting character. Her name is Izzy. So I went out because her name is Izzy and my granddaughter's nickname is Izzy. So I went out and got this little character. Bought it months ago, like right after the first one. But look at the hair texture on this girl. I don't know if it's coming through. It's a little blurry, autofocus. Look at them afro puffs. Look at them tight coils. Look at them non-ambiguous black features on this little thing. This is why we bought it. I think this is the first doll we ever got for my little grandbaby. And her name is Izzy. And she comes with a little helmet and a little gun thing. And she comes with a little tool chest. She's like an engineer. She's not even a warrior. She's like a engineer. And her character is well done. It's so well done. Like, she's not a super woman like can automatically, like the girl from Star Wars, just out of sight. She's not vulnerable. She's not coonish. She's assertive. She learns and develops. She starts off kind of, bumbling, and she there's just her character arc, just well written, well performed. And Snoop Dogg, with his black woman hating ass, had to see a nappy headed African featured black character standing toe to toe with one of the most recognizable and famous character Disney ever made, Buzz Lightyear. And this character was on par with Buzz Lightyear. And she didn't play the magical Negro. She wasn't there to save Buzz Lightyear from his dilemma. She was there to work through her own shit. So she wasn't a magical Negro. So this was a well-written, well-performed, well-animated African woman in an animated feature. And you cannot tell me that this is what sparked. But he couldn't come out and say, as far gone as this motherfucker is, he couldn't come out and say, I didn't want to bring my daughter to go look at no dark-skinned nappy head to somebody that looks like my daughter who represents my people. I didn't come to see that. I wanted to see Frozen. I wanted to see, he didn't say shit about bestiality and Beauty and the Beast. He wanted to see a Disney movie, and he had to look at a sister from around the way, one of these hoes he claims he don't love, in a non-demeaning role. And he's like, I only can deal with black women when I'm demeaning them, when they're props in my videos. And you can't get me to say, if you could get into this man's subconscious, I guarantee you, if he went to that Disney movie and there was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed protagonist as the in a supporting role, he would have walked out of there, bought his kids some ice cream, and took his ass back to his old tacky-ass mansion and left us the hell alone. You can't tell me why. How do I know this? Because I know for a fact they've been putting out LGBTQAI plus representations in this cartoon for the better part of 4 decades. For the better part, you can't tell me Snoop ain't seen none of them with all the kids and shit he got. All his sponsorships and deals. And he ain't had nothing to say. Nothing to say. Here, I want her to co-host the show with me. Ain't had a word to say about it. The first time they put a sister in, he was like, I didn't like that. But how can I express I don't like it? How can I express I don't like it without really saying how I feel? That's my speculation. That's my educated guess based on how this man has conducted himself across his entire career. You don't believe me? Look at Martha Stewart. Go look up how Snoop Dogg has spoken with such high regard to Martha Stewart. I've never heard Snoop Dogg talk about a female, one of these females. I've never heard him talk about a woman the way he, we just have a connection. I ain't heard him say shit like that about his wife. When Snoop's daughter was going through having ideations, talking about her poverty and her struggles, I didn't hear him come out and speak about his daughter with such care and admiration and love. I ain't never heard Snoop talk about a black woman the way he talked about Martha Stewart. Or look at what he said about Gayle King when Gayle King brought up Kobe's rape allegations in Colorado after his passing. Look at the things he said about her. And then go look up all the white female journalists. Look up all the lab rats who brought up who brought up Kobe's allegations more aggressively and more disrespectfully than Gayle did. And what does Snoop say about those white women? Hey, listen. But hey, Snoop made millions being Snoop. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Snoop is still a fixture in our community after he done told us he don't love us and demonstrated that he's better than telling us. But that's that. Moving on. But that's my theory. Because I'm like, look, Snoop, get a late pass, Snoop. Uh-oh. Sorry. Got one more thing to do. Where? Oh, there he is. Sorry, I shouldn't. I know this is unprofessional. That's why I can't get that Snoop money. But anyway, moving on. Let's make it happen, y'all. Welcome to the Rational Radical Show. Not sure where Skip is. I should have reached out to him earlier to get an update so I could tell y'all. But I'm here. I know it's been a month. I got a I'm sorry. Anyway, where was it? Oh, sorry. That's I should have been handling business. I'm about to turn my phone over. Anyway, that's my theory on Snoop. I got a message. It's been a month since the last AWO show, but AWO is alive and well. We are working. We got more shows in the mix. Skip is on board. Everybody on board. As far as ClassCon, I can't say. Of course, James. Where James be at? James is still on deck. I saw him in the comments earlier. So everything is good over here. There were some conflict schedules, some outside obligations, and the end of summer, going into the school year, you know, we all can't be Umar. We all can't just abandon our kids and focus on the mission. Some of us are trying to deal with our family and the mission. We're not as dedicated as Dr. Fubar, where we can completely abandon our family. And there he is. See, everybody here, it's all love. It's all gravy. We got new shows coming, so yes. So I did get a message. Somebody's like, what? Is AWO done? Is AWO cooked? And it was a good and a negative message at the same time. Because I'm very happy that the interest is still there, the support is still there. And I was sad that people would go. But maybe that's on our part. I'll do better to make sure the community is informed about, you know, any more breaks or hiatuses in the program. So that's that. So anyway, that's the wrong button. So anyway, let's move on. Everybody been asking me for quite some time about this is what I want to talk about. Today's I should close that window. Let me know if y'all hear all these noises going on. I got the back door open and dogs and stuff. South side of Chicago. I'm about to talk about the fascist military presence on the south side of Chicago. But in Chicago, y'all out here acting a fool to subvert my argument. But I've gotten a lot of questions. Everybody like, oh, National Guard coming to Chicago, woo, 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 woo. I don't know, right over there on Cottage Grove is a huge armory where Spike Lee, let me be respectful, where Spike Lee shot that movie Chirac. He commandeered that armory that's there. So if you go over to Cottage Grove, a few blocks in Washington Park, a few blocks from where I live, you'll see they got this like cannon, this decommissioned cannon and shit. Chicago has a very militaristic tradition. If you go around Chicago, you'll find all these war monuments and monuments to soldiers and shit. The United States culture is a militarist culture. The United States was founded on a revolutionary war. It was born of war. It's sustained by war. And there's a really good book called War is a Force That Gives Us Meaning, and by Chris Hedges. And well, there's a lot of books white folks tell on themselves. We don't listen to white folks. White folks rule us. White folks dominate us. We go to white folks for legitimacy, whether it's awards for our creativity or degrees for our academics. But we don't listen to white folks. In fact, in all my years of being engaged in the cultural and conscious community, there's only a small number of scholars that encourage the community to study white folks. Dick Gregory would say it all the time, study white folks. John Henry Clark said, you know, in order to understand African history or the absence of African history, you have to comprehend European history, you know, because African history are the missing pages of world history. So it's just, I don't understand the light. Like sometimes the light, brother's gonna work it out. But long story short, we don't pay much attention to white folks. And not to say that we shouldn't be outraged by the behaviors of the white majority, that we shouldn't be disgusted, that we shouldn't stand in opposition. Yeah, Nellie Fuller, rest in peace. Where's the curse? You're right, too, Nellie Fuller. But you would see there are a lot of Black leaders, scholars, who tell us ignore white folks, pay no attention to white folks, and focusing on white folks. Many of them are not really scholars, but a lot of Black leaders, like, you gotta know Black history and you just deal with Black stuff. Don't pay no attention to the white man. Stop focusing on the white man. Don't read Marx. Like, just, you can't. Even now, I mention or reference or quote Marx, who is probably one of them. I think, there's a whole host of of white scholars that I recommend. Quite a few of them. But Marx is in my top 10. If somebody came to me and is like, well, what white folks should I read and comprehend? Marx will be in my top 5, maybe my top 10. Seriously, for white folks and for Black folks to study. Like these people that white folks should know, Black folks should know. But anyway, we don't study white folks. And as I was saying, it is fully appropriate for us to be outraged, disgusted, in opposition. I would even say maybe hurt by the behaviors of the white majority. But one thing white people should not be able to do to any African on this planet, one thing Europeans, white folks, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, whatever faction of whiteness is got their boot on your neck directly, Afrikaners, Australians versus the Aboriginals, the conquistadors who pretend to be brown when it's convenient, but act white as soon as, they get what they want. The conquistadors. One thing they should never be able to do to any African on this planet is surprise us. One thing we can't do is ever be surprised by these people. There's too much consistent history. How are these people still surprising us? I will even say, they should be able to disappoint us. They could even disappoint us. There's so many times. Because believe it or not, there are times when racism can work out in our favor. I gave some examples. I'm not going to get it. But there's even times I've been like, yo, these white folks, they're going to move this way. They're going to do this particular thing. I bet you that this is what the white folks going to do. And they don't do it. But I'm not necessarily surprised, because even when they go against my expectations, they never go beyond my understanding, because I understand them. And within the arena of racism, white hegemony, capitalism, there's a lot of room to maneuver. There's a lot of space in there. It's a very wide road. So Europeans go zigzag on this road, but they never deviate from the road of white hegemony. Racism, white hegemony. So it kind of frustrates me, because I think African people, we do ourselves a disservice. There's a book that was so good. So good. One of my favorite works of fiction. And I don't know if I've ever shared this. But I'm not the biggest fan of the Harlem Renaissance for various reasons. Mainly because of my class consciousness. So I'm not the biggest fan of the Harlem Renaissance, but I must say, one of my favorite authors and I know this is easy, everybody says this, but my favorite author coming out of, I'm trying to share the screen, this book right here. And I like the stories in this book, but I also like the theme of this book, the ways of white folks. And understanding white people at one time was a survival tactic. It was a survival tactic. Even is. And it went from being a survival tactic, comprehending white folks, really understanding white folks. Because everybody should read this book. But let me say this and then say that. We do a disservice to our youth without telling them from day one about who white people are and what our relationship and interactions and experiences with white people have been from day one. We get famous people like Tyler Perry, who says, I don't tell my children about racism. You'll find a lot of affluent and functional white people who says, I don't talk to my child about racism. You get a lot of black people who says, if we talk about who they are, then it makes it number one, it gives us excuses. So why would a black youth want to strive to be all that he can be, to be like Mike, to dunk like Mike or bomb like Obama? Because you tell them you're growing up and the world is against you, they are not going to have any incentive to grow and to achieve. So we don't want to tell the children the reality of who they are because of the impact. Now, I don't understand. It doesn't so true. Victimhood. Thank you. I don't know why. You should come on, Jane. The reality is white folks are told. You know what white people are told? The world is jealous of you. The world is after you. White boys are saying the world is against white people. The world is against masculinity. Everybody steals from us. They lie on us. They tell us we're wicked when we're good, and they're jealous of us. White children are told every other race is jealous of you, is eating off of you, is preying on you, seeks to rob you, seeks to blah, blah, blah. But it don't affect them. White boys don't say, hey, I'm just going to opt out of society. But that's another discussion. We do our children a disservice. We do our youth a disservice because we raise them in the savannah and we don't tell them about lions. How you raise a child in the swamp and don't tell them about the goddamn alligator. How you raise your children in the forest and don't tell them about the wolves or the grizzly bears. How you raise your children in the North Pole and don't tell them about a polar bear. How you raise your child in the ocean and don't tell them about the great white sharks. How do you raise your child in an environment and don't educate them about the apex predator in that environment? Because you don't want them to be discouraged. I don't want my child to be discouraged. So I won't tell my child I'll raise my child in the savannah. I don't tell them about the Cape buffalo, one of the most, or the hippo, or the lions. I'll raise my child in the Australian outback, and I tell them about all the venomous snakes and arachnids. We raise African children in a society that preys on them, that looks at the birth statistics of African women and project out into the future how many prisons it will build. They look at the academic of our small children and project out into the future how many law enforcement officers they need to recruit. This society is predatory against African people. That an African woman, just by being pregnant, is high risk because of the institutionalized racism in healthcare, means that African women are going to die giving birth at 5 times the rate of white women for no other reason than they don't want to address the institutional racism within medical healthcare. No other reason. Not because black women, any other reason. Well, for profit and white hegemony, capitalism. And black women, Serena Williams was a victim of that. So if you want to pretend like, because black women aren't healthy enough, why the hell did Serena Williams almost died? Why did Jay-Z and Beyonce have to rent out a whole wing of a hospital? They didn't rent out, but they bought and built a whole wing of hospital and brought in all their own separate people. But I digress. All that to say is, we raise our children in a predatory society, and we didn't make a part of our culture. We fucking make gospel music and soul food cornerstones of our culture. But educating our children about the predatory nature of our oppression and oppressors is taboo. It's taboo. Dale Jones says we raise our children in the savannah and we don't teach them about the lions because we're afraid if they learn about the lions, they won't go out and play, which literally means we're literally serving up our children on a platter to all of the insidious agendas of our oppressors. But I digress. How does this relate to the and something really upset me today. I got calls from relatives and they were asking me about my sons. And one of my elders said, well, do your boys have passports? I said, yes, they have passports. And she said to me, perhaps your son should carry their passport. I got relatives. I have relatives, young black men from 23 to 16. They go to HBCUs. I got young black relatives in DC, here in Chicago. And the women in my family are distressed. And see, it ain't just about stopping crime. Sending in the National Guard into these areas, these predominantly black communities, is a psyop. Even though they're walking around, idling around $1 million a day from the federal budget or state budgets. They had the National Guardsmen picking up trash because there's nothing for them to do. But black women with sons in these targeted cities are feeling psychological and emotional distress. Black parents are telling their black children, wear your ID around your neck, wear your laminate, wear your work ID every day, even when you ain't at work, carry your passport, your papers, please. And I'm not talking about the thugs, the criminals, the gangbangers. I'm not even talking about migrants, refugees. I'm talking about U.S. citizens, law-abiding U.S. citizens. I'm getting those calls. I know other people that are getting those calls. Oh, you in Chicago? Oh, tell your boys. Tell your boys. Talk to your boys. And on top of that, you got motherfuckers like Willie Slackjaw Wilson and Rep Ford. Shame on you, Rep Ford, who's running for Congress, sitting out here justifying sending in the U.S. National Guard into the streets of Chicago for civilian policing. Now, the reality of it is, it's against the Constitution. It's unconstitutional. It violates the Posse Comitatus Act. The U.S. military and the National Guard is the U.S. military. It is a reservist unit for the U.S. military. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the executive branch oversees the military in cooperation with state governors. But it is a branch of the U.S. military. It is only supposed to be deployed for national emergencies, hurricanes, earthquakes, forest fires, or times of civil unrest. day-to-day crime, up to and including homicide, are not federal crimes, and they do not fall under the definition of civil unrest or the jurisdiction of the federal government or the U.S. military. This is a blatant violation of the law, and the lower courts, the appellate courts, have said sending the National Guard into Los Angeles was an illegal act, an unconstitutional act, an impeachable offense. And now it's under appeal and is due to go to the Kangaroo Supreme Court. Say Kangaroo Supreme Court. Don't say the Supreme Court. That is not a legitimate, just, or valid Supreme Court. It is a Kangaroo Supreme Court. And Trump continues, and it is an impeachable offense to threaten. The president is unlawfully threatening. And so we have National Guard troops amassing at certain federal sites around the city, awaiting deployment. And every National Guard member, every single National Guard member that deploys onto U.S. streets for civilian law enforcement is in violation of Constitution. And by law, it is unlawful to accept or follow an unlawful command. And if you're given an unlawful command and you follow it, you are liable. But here's the caveat with that shit. The U.S. military has been unlawfully engaged in war crimes across the globe for decades. And I've been saying this, you go back all the way for as long as I've been doing it, since Q4 radio up till now, when I've been saying everything the empire exports comes home. Chickens, like Malcolm X said, chickens come home to roost. So Malcolm X was talking about the assassinations of heads of state, the toppling of democratic governments all over the world that the U.S. was engaged in. And lo and behold, one of your national leaders, one of your heads of state gets popped. Everything an empire does, I don't care how major or minor the crime, every offense that an empire commits abroad always comes back home. And I don't care if it's the Roman Empire, the British Empire, the Ottoman Empire. There has never been an empire, the fascist, the Japanese Empire, the fascist, the empire, what do you call it? Italy, the Italian fascist, or the German Nazis. They went on blitzkriegs. The Germans blitzkrieg all over Central, Eastern, and Western Europe. Blitzkrieg bombing, carpet bombing, boom, 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 total warfare. And just 2 years later, those same sirens, bomb sirens, Berlin, boom, 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 bomb to rubble. So when we as U.S. citizens, some of us were. So if you don't fit in this category, I don't blame you. If this don't apply to you, then I ain't talking about you. But for all these motherfucking U.S. citizens, law-abiding, red-blooded Americans, you ADOS, FBA pieces of POSs, ADOS, POS is all you liberal, progressive, and even conservative, constitution-minded citizens. When the U.S. was in Panama, Honduras, Haiti, the Middle East, Iran, Iraq, Iraq, Central America, when they were funding military juntas, destabilization in the Philippines and backing dictatorships in the Philippines, when supporting the Zionist project, when the U.S. was going all over the world, backing the Rwandan atrocities and giving cover for the Rwandan atrocities in the Congo, arming the UAE and the Saudis to commit genocide in Horn of Africa, from Somalia to Sudan. And you sitting here like Ice Cube. You say, Africa, I stare at you. We ain't got it too good in America. thinking, I ain't worried about what's going on over there. Because Americans, black and white, was like, could give two fucks. They's like, listen, I will vote for the candidate that can get the gas prices down. I don't care if they get the gas prices down by invading the Middle East, by putting embargoes on Venezuela. I don't care what they do. So the U.S. citizens, since the end of World War II, for over half a century, have been saying, hey, what goes on over there, that's them people's business. And either supporting or being purely indifferent to the military dictatorships, to the point where y'all black folks, Burkina Faso, Sahel, are celebrating military dictatorships, supporting and celebrating military coups d'etats. And the chickens of military occupation, military repression, military law enforcement, military regimes have come home to roost. Have come home to roost. All the war crimes. Trump is a war criminal. Obama is a war criminal. Biden is a war criminal. Clinton was a war criminal. The Bush daddy and Bush baby Bush, war motherfucking criminals. And nobody cared. What's the gas prices? What can he keep the gas prices down? Didn't want to hear it, could care less about it. So now, U.S. citizens are getting a small taste of what the U.S. government has done abroad, and it will intensify. Now, what Trump is trying to do is called incitement or provocation. He's sending, because Trump, let me tell you something about fascists. They lie about every motherfucking thing, but they get to the point where they believe they lie. Like Hitler knew goddamn well he wasn't an Aryan and his people were not Aryan and that they were not supreme and they weren't none of this shit. He didn't believe none of that shit. He was selling a pipe dream, selling a scam, building a cult of personality. But when you tell a lie and then you start conducting yourself according to the lie, that only gets you so far. If you tell a woman, baby, I got the stamina of a prime stud, baby, I got all the stamina in the world, and she buys your lie, and you get your Reuniti on ice, and you put on your Luther Vandross, and you turn down the lights, you're going to have to fake a cramp, you're going to have to do lab, you're going to have to do something, pretend like your mama called you, and there's an emergency because you can't back up your lies. It's the same thing. Trump has been telling white America lie upon lie upon lie. We're the greatest country. Every country needs us. We don't need any country. I'm going to turn around the economy. I'm going to lower prices. I'm going to do this, do that, do that. So he's like, God damn. I done told all these motherfucking lies. I done sold all these motherfucking wolf tickets. And people are now like, yo, show and prove. Merch it. So now he's deflecting. So it's not just the Epstein files. Trump has failed on all fronts. He lied about everything. The only thing Trump has ever been honest about is racism. That's the only thing he's ever been honest about is the fact. And even in the fact that he is racist and going to advance racism and overt racism, he's lied about the people he's racist against. He's lying. And I don't know, I did a show, I don't know when, called You Can't Eat Racism. And when I was talking about you can't eat racism, I'm talking about how when white folks go racist, they tend, it always, like I said, the evil you do always come back. And it's not even karma. It's mechanical. It's mechanical. Injustice begets injustice. Violence begets violence. Hoarding and theft begets hoarding and theft. You reap what you sow. You plant seeds of tomatoes, you gonna grow tomatoes. You plant seeds of violence, disruption, You're going to grow that. So it's not karma. Karma doesn't exist. It doesn't. You sow goodwill and diplomacy comes back to you. It's that simple. It is not complex on that state, on that level of governance and rulership. Y'all gonna twist that to be like, oh, then we should love white folks and they love us back. It doesn't work on that level. You sow seeds of liberation, then you get liberation. You don't sow seeds of love. But if you twist it, you twist it. So Trump needs a war. Trump needs a deflection. Trump then sold the white folks the whoop tickets, and white folks have swallowed Trump's lies, hook, line, and sinker. But now they had their celebration, and they celebrated alligator Alcatraz and mass deportation. Yes, but now the money ain't right. They're losing their health care. They said, well, the only reason these average white American was like, the only reason I'm not in Harvard, the only reason I didn't get accepted to MIT is because of the Asians. The only reason I'm not in the NBA, the only reason I'm not a Hollywood star is because of DEI and wokeness. And now that Hollywood's not woke anymore, I'm going to be a big star. Now that NBA is not woke anymore, I'm going to be the next Larry Bird. So now reality is setting in. It is not minorities. It is not migrants. It is not trans people who have repressed the white majority, white men, heterosexual Christian, free Christian and white or some shit, male Christian white. Now the lies have been proven and demonstrated to be lies. You can't feed off of those lies anymore. The Proud Boys could sit and be like, Biden's doing all this stuff for the blacks. Biden's doing all this stuff for the women. Biden's doing everything for Biden's giving it. And now that's why I'm in the trailer park. Biden put this meth pipe up to my mouth and lit the flames to it. Damn you, Biden. But now Trump is in office. And you still in the trailer park and you still got the meth pipe in your mouth and eggs are still $10 a case. I don't know how much eggs cost. I ain't been bought it. Last time I bought an egg was like 1991. Shame on you for eating eggs. Karma does not mean, stop redefining karma. Karma is fictitious. I fully understand karma is a horrendous concept. And we can talk about karma some other time, but that is not what karma means. Anyway, so the white boys are like, God damn it, Trump, you promised. I want my Epstein files. And every white boy was like, hey, I'm going to have me a trad wife. A blue-eyed, blonde-haired white woman's going to kick in my trailer door and bake me an apple pie and fulfill all my fantasies. And I'm going to have a self-driving cyber cab. And when I buy my self-driving cyber cab, it'll just go out here and work for me. I'll have my own robot buddy and we'll have a colony on Mars. So now Trump is like, goddamn, I need a deflection. My lies are not paying off anymore. My racist supporters cannot eat my lies. All of their suffering is not just the same. The suffering of my angry white voters is compounding. And the ceremony, like pardoning, I pardoned all the Jan 6 rioters, and many of them are right back in jail for some other reason. So now he's got this new problem. He's got several things going. He's trying to provoke a conflict with Venezuela. He just illegally murdered a dozen people. The U.S. military, more war crimes, illegally blew up a civilian vessel. If you think someone is smuggling drugs, you have no right to unilaterally make that decision and blow them up. Even if you had commandeered the vessels, found that they were trying drugs, you would not be able to summarily execute someone for committing a crime, even if you have evidence that they've committed a crime, but they have not committed a crime. So they're trying to provoke the Venezuelan government into an open armed conflict. They might even false flag some shit to get that going. He wants an ongoing war. He attacked, and they've given the green light to Israel to expand. Israel is just decapitated the government of Yemen, is attacking Syria, Jordan. Israel is expanding and more aggressively expanding its atrocities and illegal acts of war. And on the home front, he's sending them in because Trump believes black people are violent, black people are prone to riot, black people this, but he believes this shit. He really believes, oh, Chicago's a hellhole. So he believes this shit, and he wants a provocation. He needs he did that shit in D.C. Remember that white boy who was part of the Doge team that got two-pieced in the streets? And they spread that picture of that white boy sitting with a bloody nose, and they told some lie about him trying to rescue a woman, heroically rescue a woman, and he got assaulted by savages in the streets. That was the DC, and they were saying they're killing ICE agents, and California's lawless, and the blah blah blah, and they're saying all this shit as if Trump gives a flying fuck about the suffering of citizens, about the crimes that the citizen. Trump is a criminal. Trump is a lifelong criminal. His daddy was a criminal. His granddaddy was a criminal. Trump's granddaddy was a pimp and a two-bit hustler. His father was constantly in court. His father was constantly sitting before a judge in New York, a state, federal offenses. His father was a lifelong criminal. And Trump said, I don't have to read or study because he's a eugenicist. He believes behavior patterns are passed down in the DNA. And I'm going to go ahead and go with Trump logic. Your granddaddy was a two-bit hustler pimp. Your daddy was a repeat offender criminal. You are a predicated felon. And it must be the genes. Talk about good genes, American Apparel. Yeah, Trump got bad genes. Trump got 3 generations of criminals. And if we are to believe, his sons are petty criminals. So they're coming here, and ain't gonna be shit for them to do. The reality is the crime rate of Chicago is going down, and you won't find a scholar, even a conservative scholar. They understand how to reduce crime rates. They understand. The easiest way to reduce crime rates is the equitable distribution of the resources available. When you look at societies that have high crime rates, societies that have low crime rates, and what they call them high trust society, you find societies that have the more just and rational distribution of resources. They have leveling policies. They have policies that prevent citizens from falling too far, and they have policies through taxation, progressive taxations, to prevent citizens from rising too high. So there is a leveling. There's another book, and they know this. It's an unbroken formula. It's a formula that has lasted literally for centuries. Right? There's this book right here. It's a weird book because I think it wasn't as popular because it's a weird name. But I think if they named the book better, it would have had more. But the spirit level. This is a good book. Why Greater Equality Makes for Stronger Societies, right? This book by 2 social scientists pretty much talks about what is the true difference. What makes a society with relatively low crime rates, relatively stable society, relatively low rates of interpersonal, intertribal conflict, what makes that society, and they know it. They know it. They know it. Just an equitable distribution. Now, this is what the United States did. The United States says we're going to go full capitalist. We're going to disintegrate and destroy the New Deal. We're going to reverse all of the labor progress. We're going to blow up all of the achievements of the international workers of the world, the Wobblies, the achievements of the AFL-CIO, the achievements of the labor struggle, the achievements of the women's struggle, the achievements of the Black civil rights and Black liberation struggles. We're going to upend all progressive struggles for the last century. We're also going to destroy international struggles. We're going to recolonize the world. We're going to establish a new capitalistic white hegemonic economic order. We're going to subvert the sovereignty of all these nations that have fought guerrilla warfare and fought protracted war and engaged in diplomacy to end imperialism. Right? We're going to suppress all of this. And the number one way they had to do this is counterintelligence, to destroy the options available to people who are suffering. So if you were in Chicago in the 60s and you're like, I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore. I can't stand this shit no more. Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. There were options available to you. You could go the street route. I'm a hustle. I'm a bang. I'm a rob and steal. And there were other routes. I'm going to join the communists. I'm going to join the Nation of Islam. I'm going to join a militant black nationalist organization. I'm going to join a progressive organization. I'm going to go join a black hippie commune. You had reactionary and regressive responses, and you had revolutionary and progressive responses. And what COINTELPRO did said, we're going to get rid of Fred Hampton. We're going to get rid of Malcolm X and make sure Malcolm X doesn't rise to power in that cult. What they did was destroy the left. Leftist ideology, leftist history, leftist comprehension, leftist impacts, and only left black people with the reactionary solution. I either integrate into the system, I'm going to go to the police academy, I'm going to go get my degree and go work for a multinational corporation, I'm going to become a government bureaucrat, I'm going to join, either become a right-winger, a centrist, submit, or hit the streets. Because the only true threat to an oppressive state is a revolutionary leftist uprising. And only way you can have true revolutionary leftist uprising is for the people to comprehend, to have class consciousness, to be historical, to have a comprehension on the complexity and nuances of the political system and power, and to be intellectual. So they engaged in menticide because they said, listen, we know if we destroy the revolutionary option, if we get rid of all the revolutionary organizations, the truly progressive organizations, or if we decapitate the truly progressive and remove the progressive leadership and put in the reactionary leadership, they knew there would be more violence in the black community, but they were like, we can govern criminals. We can govern people who submit. We can govern people who status quo, and we can govern criminals. In fact, we govern criminals better than any other population. You notice how criminals, these street, no snitching, they talk all this gangster shit. And the moment a man with a shiny badge shows up, how you got the bloodthirsty criminals and they get slap them in cuffs and they sitting in court. Young Thug was killing, orchestrating all kind of violence through Atlanta. And they brought him in court and he's sitting there all doughy. Because criminals read black on black crime. The black on black criminal is a product of white hegemony. I think I did. Yeah, I did a review of this book. Gotta read it. The hell? What the hell are you on? Did they get rid of this book? Oh, here it is. If you really read and understand this book, you will be so clear on why, if given the option, why this society prefers black criminals over black revolutionaries. And it's like Dick Gregory said, they didn't kill the Panthers because they carried guns. They didn't kill the Panthers because they called for the overthrow of the government. They killed the Panthers because they fed children. You can call for overthrow of the government and carry all the guns you want if you're a right-wing reactionary. There have been white boys running around this country about a new civil war, boogaloo, Civil War 2.0. There are white armed militias who got real weapons, more weapons than black folks ever had. Military style, they got more money than black folks ever touched, and the government don't move on them. Because if they're right-wing reactionary, they're authoritarian, they're pro-capitalist, they're not a true threat, no matter how much they hate the government. It wasn't because they don't like the government. That's not what gets you in trouble. What gets you in trouble is not hating the government. What gets you in trouble is offering a viable alternative to the people. If you offer a viable alternative to the people, that's when you're a threat. But if you come into black people, even as a black militant, apocalyptic cult, or cuddly Mike, we got to have our own banks. We got to have our own business. We're going to buy private ownership. We're going to buy our own land. You're not giving alternatives. You're literally mimicking your oppressors. We're just going to do what the white man does, but do it better. Or we're going to do what the white man does, but do it way over there. We're going to do what the white man does, but we're going to do it in bow ties instead of neckties. We're going to do what the white man does, but we're going to use tofu instead of beef. That's not a viable alternative. So what causes the state to move on you? What caused the state to move on Assata, Huey, Marcus, is that they offered a viable divergence, alternative, not a mimicry or a black version of what they had. Because if you're just offering an apocalyptic, reactionary, ultra-conservative alternative to what the white man has, you can run around this country and live till you're 90 years old in a mansion calling the white man a devil, and you could show up on Donahue and all the major TV networks calling the white man a devil because you're not offering real alternatives. So anyway, all that to say, bringing it all the way back, what Trump is trying to do is initiate a provocation. And he has several provocations within the United States and around the globe that he needs to deflect from the failures of his administration. And the problem with why many of his deflection, the reason why many of his deflections don't work is because he's operating off of lies. There's this wonderful movie that every black person should watch. Oh, now I'm gonna wrap up with this. It should be free online. I know it's in the public domain. There's this woman called Leni Riefenstahl. Leni Riefenstahl was a propagandist for the Nazi Party. And after the fall of the Nazi Party, she moved to Africa and started taking pictures of large black penises. This is one of the weirdest women. Leni Riefenstahl. But she made this movie that is held as one of the greatest works of propaganda ever created. And it's called Triumph of the Will. And anyway, just the very concept of notion of triumph of the will, because fascists believe that they can will things into reality. That's why fascists are always anti-academics. Fascists always attack academia. Fascists always attack the established science. They oppose the scientific method because they believe we are the master race. We are created by the creator. We are in the image of the creator. And our will overcomes everything. So Trump is trying to engage in the triumph of the will. And that's why. So Trump is engaged in triumph, like the Wu-Tang song, triumph of the real. Anyway, so yeah, it's fucked up that Trump is sending the National Guards to Chicago. Even though I'm talking about black people, their main target of repression and attack will be the West Side, where the Latino community is a large. And let me tell you something about the Latino community and the black community. Let me just remind y'all, when Laquan McDonald was murdered by the Chicago Police Department and the black community was engaged in rebellion, street protest and street rebellion, the West Side Latino communities, because black people, the protests were focused down, because I went to some of the marches. In fact, one of the marches came right down my street, up and down King Drive. There was some black people rising up. And it was an effective protest movement because it ousted one of the most reactionary Zionist mayors ever elected. So they got rid of a scumbag mayor who should have never been elected in the first place, but it ousted a very powerful and well-entrenched mayor, Obama's hand-picked mayor. And so it was successful. But during that uprising, people from the Latin community, Mexican, Honduran, Puerto Rican community here in Chicago took to social media and started saying that black protesters and black rebels better not come to the West Side. Don't come to their neighborhoods because they're ready for us. Now, there was nobody talking about going to the West Side. There was no focus on the West Side, but they were suggesting that black rioters were going to come to Latino communities and loot their communities because of our dissatisfaction with the administration and the police. Now, it didn't happen. It never happened. But they were all over social media talking this shit. What I tell you about chickens coming home to roost? And a lot of conquistadors exposed their racism. And now here we have a situation where the leaked and exposed plans from Stephen Miller, the true Nazi in the White House, Trump's puppet master. Stephen Miller was like, yeah, we're there for Hispanic Heritage Month. We're going to the Mexican Independence Parade, and they're going to be targeting the very community that told the blacks who were stepping up for Laquan McDonald and George Floyd that we need to stay out their neighborhood. So, just reminding, we got to have long memories. Oh my God, I will vote. I'm not saying, and I disagreed. I did a whole show on this. Black people, it is not our options. It is not our option to sit out this fight. We should resist. We should oppose. We should be outraged. We should strategize and develop tactics for getting the fucking National Guard and any type of military repression. And we should oppose the Trump administration with every fiber of our being, all of their policies. Ones that come to our doorsteps and the one international. We should oppose everything MAGA stands for. But we got to know, we have no friends. And any true allegiance, any true allyship works both ways all the fucking time. No allegiances out of convenience. And we have every right to call people on the carpet for past and present offenses against our community. And anybody that tries to tell you, well, you have an issue, put your issue on hold to deal with my issue, that's an exploiter, not an ally. Anyway, I'm going to play a little bit of Triumph of the Will because I want to share some stuff with y'all that I locked down, and then we'll be out. So I'm going to share this. Give me a moment, and then we'll be back. This is some parts of Triumph of the Will by Leni Riefenstahl. And it's called by film buffs the greatest propaganda film of all time. Let me play. Oh. Are you inspired by the greatness of the Aryan race? Anyway, I do encourage y'all to go watch those shit if you want. I've been away for a while. It's been a month since the last radical and Pro Diallo. So I appreciate everybody being there. I just want to share with y'all my haul uh, from my travels. I like to come back and flex on y'all. Oh, let me give thanks and praise to contributor. Thank you, Kevin Baptiste. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love Oakland. I love the Bay Area. It's like a Brooklyn on the West Coast. I don't know. They might get offended by that. But I love the Bay Area. That's my favorite part. Best Ethiopian food. It's one of the few walkable areas, walkable communities on the West Coast. I'm not a big fan of LA. Most of the time I'm in California, I'm in LA or the surrounding suburbs, and I rarely get to go to the Bay Area. But that's literally my favorite part of Oakland. So shout out to the artists there. Reefer One, and what they call it. Oh, I can't remember. I'll share it next time. But I want to show y'all. I was in Brooklyn, New York. I was in Kansas City, and that's where I was traveling to when I in the absence. So let me show y'all what I got. Right. So I was in New York at this bookstore, and I got a new favorite bookstore, but I won't get into that. But I was walking down the street, and it was this dude in Prospect Park, just off 7th Avenue, that had a stoop sale, and he had a bunch of records on the stoop. And these were some really good records, really cheap. So I got this Foundation, Flames, and I don't like taking albums on the plane, but my wife said, get you some albums, and I promise you it'll be fine, and I'll make sure they get back to Chicago on her. So Foundation, Flames, one of my favorite reggae artists of all time, Foundation. You and I got to. This is an unopened original printing of Wu-Tang. My wife bought this. I have to be honest with you. I'm not that big of a Wu-Tang fan. I'm not. My favorite Wu-Tang album, the greatest thing about Wu-Tang was Liquid Swords. GZA is the greatest Wu-Tang member, and Liquid Swords is the greatest album to come out of Wu-Tang. So this is another unopened Underground System by Fela. And dudes was like giving these albums away. It's got a new Fela album. Again, my wife, I should have took her shit out of here. My fault. I'm going to hold it up because I want to keep it real. I told you I'm in an interracial, maybe not an interracial marriage, but I'm in a intercultural marriage. So my wife sullied my little collection. She bought the Wu-Tang and she bought this Pretty in Pink. And then we got this never opened classic, Dick Gregory Frankenstein. One of the greatest comedy lecture albums. Rest in peace, Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory Frankenstein. So I was walking up the street and this guy was hauling, and we came back like 2 days later and he was gone, like an album fairy. He had so much good, and all these albums cost, I think, like he charged us like $40. But the thing is, you had to pay cash. So we pulled these out and ran to, because he wasn't taking no cash, and it was wonderful. But yeah, I love Frankenstein. But my wife got her Pretty in Pink, and she got this because that night Raekwon the Chef was performing in Brooklyn, in Prospect Park in Brooklyn, and she wanted to get it autographed, but we didn't make it because New York, it was so much to do. And so we went to Soho. Then we went up to Harlem, and we were up in Harlem. Then you want to go all the way back down to Prospect Park in Brooklyn? So we missed the Raekwon the Chef show. I'm sure it was out of sight. And then I went to, what's the name of that bookstore? It's got a weird name. It's called Troubled Sleep. And they got some gems there. They got some real, gems there. I just can't front, but it's Troubled Sleep Bookstore. I think it's on 6th Avenue. I don't know. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see shit. Oh, sorry. Well, anyway, I don't have my glasses on. I left them when I went to get the album. Where is this? 6th Avenue. Troubled Sleep. I got 2 books by Basil Davidson. I only know Basil Davidson because if John Henry Clark quotes him quite a bit. I never had a book by Basil Davidson, but it's called The African Past and the African Genius by Basil Davidson. And like I said, John Henry Clark, he's got a would quote him and reference him. So that's why I got these. And then I had to go to where did we get this? We got this. I don't know where I got this from. I can't even see what y'all have to take my word from what I'm holding. Oh, I got this actually got this in Chicago. This don't count. I didn't pick The Great Displacement, Climate Change, and I don't know. This was just on the pile of my books to read. I didn't mean to bring that. I got this at the African Street Festival. This is by Dr. Obari Cartman, Black Spirituality. And he wanted to give me this book for free, but I felt like it was a setup. Because Obari, give me the book for free and then go around Chicago telling everybody what a mooch I am. So I was like, no, I'm paying for it. And everybody was wanting to come up and greet him because he was there selling the book and signing the book. So I just left because I was there talking to him, and then one of my professors came. One of my professors, it's all of the, you know how you go to African Street Festival, but look at this. I hadn't finished reading it, but look at this, y'all. Y'all see that? I don't know if you can see it. Boom, a quote. He quotes me in there. See that? So thank you for quoting me. And I was reading through the book, so I got some shout out in the book. I got a quote in the book. And so hey, let's get a oat milk latte. DM me. We go get us a oat milk latte. Be happy to in November. That's my birthday month. I'm just answering some questions. Did you go to? So I'm gonna be looking for you in November. I'll be here. I ain't got nowhere to be, so I'll be here all November. We go get us some oat milk latte, but you have to pay because that's my birthday month. If you come in the first week of November, you have to pay because that's my birthday month. Otherwise, we'll go Dutch. No, I've never been to the picnic because I'm not a house head. I'm not a fan of house music. There, I said it. I'm a hip hop head. I'm not from Chicago. I've been here forever and a day, but I ain't from here. And I don't, my wife is into house music. She's dragged me to a few house events. And I enjoy myself, but that just ain't my thing. But, I did get these at the African Festival too. And let me tell you something else, like my wife, how she be playing me. So I walk up to this brother. I'm like, how much for the cowrie shell bracelet? And he said, $5. And I'm like, oh, I said, how much for 2? He looked at me, $10. I said, how much for 3? And my wife screams out, it's the African market. You're supposed to haggle. I could have got him down to like $13, $12. That's part of, I get to be African and try to get a good deal. And she's standing there. Now I couldn't negotiate when my wife took his side. So I paid $15. When I could have got a couple of dollars off, maybe got her something nice, but now she didn't get nothing. She got something of her own. She had to pay herself because she messed up mine because he was about to break. Anyway, I appreciate y'all. Thank you for supporting the African World Order. Please like, share, subscribe, share with your friends, enemies. I'm sure Skip is setting up a whole new studio and everything. So when Skip come through, it's gonna be nicer than ever. James is still here, and I don't know why James is behind the. He likes to play authoritarian. Talk about the National Guard. James is a moderator. He's the National Guard of the chat. The fascist of the chat. Anyway, until next time, man, I appreciate y'all. And like, share, subscribe, man. Get on board with this African World Order thing. And I'll see y'all Tuesday after next. Every first and third Wednesday, you get your Rational Radicals and go. Oh, and somebody had asked me about this other project I'm co-hosting. Shayoun has a podcast called Bird's Eye View that I co-host. You can find that at OK Africa. Our first episode has released, but I'm still doing this. I'm still committed to this. So shout out to Shayoun, and you can go listen to our first ever broadcast. And